I'm gonna make myself here a drink in a second.
Uh,
In case you're not aware, it's called Denny's Days because normally we would have met at Denny's, but even though
yeah,
Denny's is open, not too many people are gathering right now.
yeah, that's true. I mean, honestly, I would have actually gone to this,
Yeah,
but I actually had Cracker Barrel today for the first time.
I haven't gone to a sit-down restaurant since this began. I've gone to plenty of fast food places, but not
Sure,
actually in it.
sure. They
I have,
I ended up just getting Cracker Barrel. It's like I guess they have like bundles or something. I never knew that though, but ended up getting their breakfast bundle. Um, and then took that over my dad's and whatnot. And that's when we started eating. So it wasn't too bad.
cool. All right, I'm gonna go get a drink real quick. I'll be right back.
You're good.
Oh, we got someone else.
Yeah,
All right, I'm back.
nice.
All
Nice.
right, we have a new person joining us. So
Hello,
loaded up, Mary Davis.
Mary Davis.
Yep,
Okay.
I think one of my artsy friends. I'm not sure if we met in person, maybe from my creative artist days. There's a
Mm-hmm.
group and mentor called the Creative Artists Association.
Okay. Hmm.
My ex-wife clued him into me a number of years ago, and I used to volunteer for their arts festival they had every year, kind of
Mm-hmm.
like a craft fair style.
Okay.
But that organization has lost the fair to the city of Mentor. They kind of took it over. It used to be a joint effort, and then the membership has kind of dwindled.
Okay.
And I moved on to Ingenuity Cleveland. I'm more of a renegade builder.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Mary looks like
Hmm, let's see. It's
Mary.
actually pretty like Mary Davis joined.
Hey, her audio is starting to work. It looks like it's just taking its time to connect for her. Your video kind of keeps pausing on me.
Me.
Yep.
Okay. I don't have
I think
that much of a.
your audio is better than your video, but your video every so often is kind of just freezing for a few seconds.
Yeah, it's not that good of a signal up in here. Kind of sucks. So,
Mine is the effect on my face is intentional. I did that with camera stuff and backgrounds.
it looks pretty.
I always like to mess with my identity. On this computer, hey Mary.
Figured it out.
All right. We were wondering, you're not the only one. Everyone who's connecting tonight is taking their sweet time for it to finally make the connection. All right. I guess welcome to Denny's Day. I'll show you. I just bought these today because I haven't been to regular Denny's in a while. Oh, you can't read it with my effect. It does say Denny's. They're Denny's.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there it is.
Um, so we started this as kind of just like a friends meetup because after I moved to Manor, after about a year, I realized adults don't get together if they don't plan it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
true.
I'm a planner. I'm the kind of guy that doesn't let broken things lie. So I would just have a different sort of whatever friends were available. And last Sunday of the month, we meet at Denny's, have coffee, chat about our lives. For a few months of them, it wound up just being Jason Kasunic with me, my best friend's brother. Aaron, his brother, is the one who started HEYMAN Productions with me. Jason happens to live down the road. Jason's a Twitch streamer, but has a lot of struggle with the social aspect of Twitch streaming, the conversation.
Hmm.
So I thought, hey, we're always here having conversations. Why don't we just record it? And then his brother was getting into film, right? I thought, well, why don't we just record it? You guys can use it as like a podcast. I don't care what we talk about. It would just be the normal friends meetup. But you'll have some content you can play with to kind of exercise that a little bit. It doesn't have to be good. Most podcasts aren't. It's just us chatting about our lives. And in Jason's case, a lot of times it came down to a lot of us had personal mental illness issues, myself included. So after a while, we started doing a few topics here and there. We did the currents, is what we call it. Everyone says what's going on in their life. We would have topics. And we didn't, my friend Aaron is the one who finally decided to do something with it and put up an episode or two. But we have a lot more of them recorded than we'll ever probably do anything with. I did a whole one that was just discussing an art project idea of mine with some friends. So my friend Aaron is the one who really technically does anything with any of this. So then COVID-19 happened and we can't physically meet.
Yeah.
So I thought this is a tagline I use for the writing group. Josh Romick, who is one of the founding members with me of Beautiful Blasphemy. He started doing online open mics, mostly poetry, but it can be whatever you want. It's just most of our crowd of people is poets. This line is, just because we can't be together doesn't mean we cannot still connect with each other.
Yeah.
So that's the idea. And the Zoom has actually allowed some different people to come than would normally come.
Excellent. Like
Driving
me.
is sometimes an issue to mentor for people. Some people, it's the social aspect of leaving their home and being around other people, even if one of them you kind of know, but you might not know anyone else there.
Yeah.
Or like the environment of a public place.
That's true.
Yeah, I used to do the ISA Third Thursday screenwriting events.
That's how I know you. I couldn't remember which group. I knew you, but I didn't know which group from. I met you at one of these Cleveland filmmakers meetups.
Probably.
Yep. The Indie Club meeting that Johnny Woo puts on.
Yeah. Yep. I actually only made it to 2 of those, but
hey, but you got connected with me, so that's a good start.
Absolutely.
LaRhaun, I know you from Kent Ashtabula, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yep. And I think somewhere we intersected a few times with the English Society and some of the poetry readings we did when we got canned.
Yeah, I remember. I don't know. Did you ever do the one thing I did like when we was on Kent Ashtabula was the Socrates Cafe.
I participated in them, but like an audience member, and I'm a mouthy guy, so I might have been heard quite a lot there.
Yeah.
I loved arguing with the teachers. It's fun.
Yeah, it was a nice atmosphere, had different perspectives and whatnot. So that's why I actually enjoyed that aspect. You know, we can all be different and disagree, but yet we can still respect each other.
Boy, if COVID wasn't happening, this would be the perfect time for some really hard-hitting Socrates cafes. Like,
yes. Oh my goodness.
You could even, if you really want to maybe incite a riot, you could do What Lives Matter. That's the question.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, getting over it. I actually made a hilarious joke because I play. I'm actually been getting into D&D now.
Okay.
So my one group with me, Jeff, and 3 other people, because we like fought against like a bunch of goblins, I went again and I said hashtag Goblins Lives Matter.
But weren't
Uh,
they your enemies?
Yeah, goblins. It was yeah, they were a bunch of enemies and whatnot. We got ambushed by goblins and almost got wiped out by goblins.
Ah, so goblins' dead bodies matter.
Yes.
oh, here comes Aaron.
Oh, Aaron.
EIDG Productions is Aaron Kasunic. As soon as his thing, his might be kind of quick. He's got some top grade equipment. I hope so, because he's a filmmaker.
Oh, nice.
What's that?
Hence the productions. Hey, you're in space again?
Yes, I'm in space again.
All right, Aaron. We are here with LaRhaun Ferguson from Kent Estabula, is where I met him. And Mary Davis is one of the people
Hello.
I met. Have you met her before?
Yes, we met at the 48 mixer at Brunet's.
Okay.
Yeah.
I met her at the Indie Club.
The little old lady running around with a rollator.
All right. You can see I found a way to play with the effects more. I set my skin tone as the green screen.
Yeah, I see that.
I've got I have a fancier camera and computer than I ever know how to do with. When I left Ashtabula, I had a home and very good credit because of all that. But to leave Ashtabula, I had to get rid of the house. My son lived in Painesville, and an engineering degree wasn't going to be helpful out there. So I had to let the house go into foreclosure. That being the case, I was going to have to file bankruptcy. So Best Buy was kind enough to give me $3,000 worth of credit during that time.
Excellent.
And I bought the most expensive laptop I could find, and I still don't know how to use it yet. Completely. I have a degree in computers. I still don't know how to use this thing. Aaron probably knows how to use it more than me.
Oh, good.
Aaron,
Now I don't feel bad about my problems.
Aaron, your picture freezes here and there, but your audio stays synced.
Yeah, I'm noticing that on my end too when you're talking.
All right. Then it's all of us because I think it might be Zoom overloaded then because it says your network bandwidth is low, but it's been everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, your video is actually, I don't know if it's because you're the host though, but your video is actually really smooth.
Aaron, didn't you just say it was jerky for you?
Yeah, it is.
All right. Well, there it is. That might be his connection.
I wonder if your
Yeah, it might be my.
are eating it up.
I don't know. Anyways, Aaron, I gave them a quick rundown of how Denny's day started already. And I told them you're the guy that turns it into podcasts.
Yeah, speaking of which, it wants me to ask permission for me to record again.
Oh, who asked permission?
Zoom. I'm trying to record.
Oh, okay. I'm already recording, but I guess I did forget to stop. Where do I give you permission for that?
I don't know. Mine says
Should be
recording.
under.
Mine is
It
good.
should be.
Allow record.
is it
Okay,
under
I got
the,
it. I got it. It just
There we
didn't
go.
prompt me to let you do
Gotcha.
that. So I guess you just have to ask me. Yeah,
Yeah.
notice how we work out technical
So-
issues on the fly, like most
Well, that's how
podcasts
things work.
and
Yeah, that's how most
many of
things
the
work.
radio stations. All right. So,
So no Jason today?
I haven't actually directly messaged him. I could very well see him forgetting. If you want to shoot him a message real quick.
No, that's all right. If he's not going to make it, no, he's not going to make it.
Jason is kind of flaky. I mentioned he was the genesis for the podcast version of this. And then you're the person who actually did something with it.
Yeah.
Jason's also his brother, so Aaron is, well, I don't really need permission, but Aaron has free right to basically talk shit about him. He's earned it by being raised with them. They all went to the
Called the
same crucible.
birthright. I understand that.
Yeah.
As it says very clearly, there is often lots of shit talking, and it's usually me, and it's recorded and usually made public.
Oh, no shit. Damn. Oh, my cat just scratched me and said, "Don't use that language, Mary."
Yeah, the only person that yells at me for my language is my son.
Okay, did I get her in focus?
She's hiding down there.
Yeah. That's my cat, Kaiwacket.
Huda, what now? It?
I'm bleeding. That's fun. Are you happy now, cat?
All right. So since COVID happened, we don't really go with topics. We go with extended currents. Aaron and ours last time turned into a long discussion about domestic abuse.
Mm-hmm.
But it does not have to be that serious.
I had one of those.
Yeah. Oh,
I went
Aaron,
to-
can you
I
see
went
this
to legal
properly?
aid with his bruises around
What's
my
that?
neck back in the day.
Aaron, can you properly see what I'm holding up? Probably
No,
not.
you're frozen.
Ooh.
All right. I have two
No.
Denny's mugs. I went to Denny's and bought the mugs. For once in my life, I didn't just steal them.
Oh, wow.
One of them is
That's
for you,
incredible.
but-
That's an accomplishment.
But right now, I'm putting my lips on yours.
I didn't even see it, so hey.
Well, there's a leading remark, if ever.
Hey, speaking of which, oh no, Aaron and I have heterosexually flirted for over 15 years. It would be more if I would just let him. I'm just terrified.
I see Jace coming in.
Yeah, I just clicked allow. We'll have to let him know we were just
Okay.
talking shit about him.
Yeah, you know.
All right. Give it a minute for him to pop in. We'll say the hellos, and then basically it's just an extended currents. You tell us what's going on in your life. If you're new to this, for future posterity, we ask you give a 10-second name and what you do, like anything you want people to know, so that later, if we ever need to, Aaron can make an intro with your name in it. Like it can be modular for whoever shows up. So that would be
Sounds good.
LaRhaun and Mary. Jason, I see you're back on the river again with the blackness surrounding you.
Yeah, that thing was a mess.
Turn up your volume a little, though. You're a little low.
I know. Hold on, I'm working on it.
All right.
You can hear me there.
You're happy to know we were just talking shit about you.
Yeah, I kind of figured as much, seeing as how it's been, what, half an hour since I started.
Well,
15
technically
minutes.
we didn't start till 7:30,
Yeah.
Can't hear you well.
but I logged in a little bit early. All right. For those new, Jason Kasunic, that's Aaron's brother, Twitch streamer. Aaron Kasunic, the one listed as EIDG Productions, film. Mary, film and writing, is that correct?
Yep. Mostly writing for film at the moment. Although I've had my poetry published. You mentioned poetry before.
Yep. I also publish poetry for people and other forms of writing.
I simply write it.
Uh-huh.
Excellent.
Well, I can put it into little books. We have a program where we give away little bifold books for anyone that asks us. We have yet to ever turn anyone down. I'm sure one day we'll get the white supremacists where I'll have to say no, but our motto is responsible free speech. So we more or less let you say whatever you want as long as you're responsible.
That's true. That's true.
It's one of the things that got us shut down as the English Society, so we made that kind of our guiding principle. And then
Yeah, I got
LaRhaun, writing and music or just writing?
I'm just writing
Okay.
poetry. Some people did tell me that I should write music, but never really got into that, I guess. I actually took quite a long break from writing poetry for a while. I kind of was in a relationship, in and out, stopped writing for a while, and kind of got into like a little bit more of like a depressed state where I pretty much just like stopped socializing with people. And that's where even like, for instance, I stopped talking to my mom for about 3 years. my mom, my sisters, even my dad.
Jason's
And
laughing.
yeah, I just stopped talking to everybody. It was just like
No.
shut down.
Jason's thinking that would be really nice.
It's thinking on my end here, then. I'm listening to you. But Aaron's is messing with the camera angles.
I'm messing with the camera angles.
Aaron, are you just not moving for long periods of time or just freezing every so often?
No, for me, it
I'm
shows
not
Aaron,
moving.
and it shows him, and it shows Aaron, and it shows him.
Oh, I switched it to where it shows like for the cameras and stuff. So instead of just like one.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, you can open up a gallery view, and then you can see all the people up top. And then whoever I feel like clicking on would be the main. Which I guess I should click on whoever's speaking.
mhm.
All right, LaRhaun, since you kind of already started your spiel, give us a 10-second intro and then tell us your currents. What you into?
10-second intro. All right, LaRhaun Ferguson. Well, I should say the full name, LaRhaun Barrington Ferguson. One of the whitest black sounding names anybody can get confused with because everybody thinks I'm white and black. They think my mom or dad is white and think I'm related to Gilbert Ferguson for some reason. I don't know who the fuck that is. And then basically 30 years old, Sagittarius, and I'm currently single, but talking with my ex who I was with for, I would say, 6, almost 7 years. Was actually the first one I proposed to. We're still talking to each other, but like on and off. And as far as with currents, I'm actually had started a new job back in December, basically as a driver, and lost my last job that I was at over some bullshit with my manager, new manager on night shift. He's basically making me do all the goddamn work, and low key, honestly, think that he might have been racist in some way, shape, or form because everyone else literally just was not working, would stand there. And I would go to him. I would like be the hardest worker, get his numbers and everything. I told him, I said, "Hey, you gotta give me some help." But whenever I was standing around not doing anything, like just relaxing for a brief moment, he would have me help them do their jobs. And then once they start standing around, I was over here doing all the work. So
What kind of business was that?
GLI pools. It was in a warehouse.
Okay.
I worked on the table. So I was actually certified all the way up to level 4. So I was there for about 4 years. So 4 years, was making close to about $15 an hour. But it was one of those things where I was like certified and doing damn near everything. It was there. I was going to move into design, but they denied me on it. They said that my one supervisor, not my supervisor, but he said that I didn't have a sense of urgency. So after I went to a guy named Brian, I kind of looked at him as a mentor because he actually started at the bottom, worked his way up. And then, long story short, he told me that nobody ever put in the application for it as far as he knew. He didn't know I put my application in for it. And then after doing some digging, talking to the general manager of the store, of the whole place, found out that he basically just had some discrepancies with me, not the manager, but the one that said that he put my application in, and then that's when he hired somebody from the outside to replace that person. And they wouldn't even finish my training, even though I was still doing the work and everything. It wasn't officially certified with the cut table. I think it was like one side of the cut table, like in a different department. And pushed for it, talked with them, and then found out that another supervisor that I had who didn't like me, thought it was kind of funny to sit there and make a whole bunch of like just downright straight up like racist comments and jokes and whatnot. And I kind of hit it back at him, told him about like how he has like a closet full of like ghosts. And pretty much, he would wear his ghost every single day whenever he got a chance. And then it was one of those things where it's just like I was actually relieved that I was fired from that place. So, and then after struggling with some things for about like 2 to 3 months, getting set back real bad, finally landed this job right here. And even though it only pays 13 an hour, one is better than nothing. Two, the people are actually pretty cool there. A lot less stress. Pretty much a driver, but now they have me running Amazon. I'm pretty much like a supervisor, but without the actual title, just the whole, I guess, the authority of a supervisor. That's basically what they're trying to get me in, to be in that position right now. So they're kind of cross-training me on all kinds of stuff, though. But I actually, ever since then, I started getting back into my poetry. I posted a few on Facebook. There's actually a couple more that I'm working on. Pretty dark ones, though. But I've actually been able to, one, think less on suicide, and actually enjoy just getting down to just being who I am on the inside, and not giving a fuck what people say or what people think of me.
That last job, it wouldn't happen to have been in Ashtabula, would it?
No, it was not in Ashtabula. It was actually in Youngstown.
Oh, I had an
Mhm.
issue with a concrete place I did a short stint at right before I left town. The guys running the place, even though, you know, I'm white, but I guess they assume that meant it's okay to make all the racist and sexist jokes they want.
Yeah.
Like, I get that I'm a white guy, so, you know, you think it's safe, but like, dude, you're an asshole.
Yeah. That's where a lot of people, like, I think a lot of the issues when it comes down to, like, I think when it comes to like racism is, it's almost okay, almost like in the past how the people used to say like, that guy's in the closet because he's gay, but he doesn't show it, he's in the closet. I think that's how a lot of racism is. It's kind of like flip-flop, where racism is in the closet for a lot of people, to where some people, until they actually realize it, and kind of like a light bulb hits in their head, like, holy shit, like I've been acting racist, that they don't really see it. And I think that's a lot of issue with some people. And then the illusion amongst, I would say, the color community is that they have this illusion that black people can't be racist. But that's not the case. Anybody can be racist. Hell, I can be racist at times. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's just a aspect of realizing it and acknowledging it. And some people, they know they're racist, but they really just don't give a fuck.
Aaron can attest to when my early 20s, I had a few parts of my language that were nasty racist comments that I thought were just funny.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I got older that I realized maybe I'm being too much of an asshole. There's a certain level of asshole that just runs in my blood. So that's sort of my personality. But when I'm calling something Chinese food chinkish, I'm probably too much of an asshole. I've learned my lesson on that one.
Too, so.
What was the other one? Smart ass?
No, nothing. I'm just saying that, yeah, that's pretty bad.
It is. I realize that, but it took me a long time to not be. And of course, you know, being an asshole, you do it for shock value, and then you realize maybe that's over the line. I changed a lot of my language. I have adaptable language, so it tends to reflect whatever environment I'm around.
Yeah.
And changes on the fly, working lots of customer service jobs. But a lot of it started to change in my general personality when I started becoming more active at Pride, like marching in the parades and things like that.
Yeah. Well, see, I was gonna say this where I started like mostly watching a lot of videos and getting more connected with, I guess, social issues in society, and just studying up on these things and reading a lot more too. And it kind of dawned on me a lot of when it comes down to our freedom of speech, where we got people who are too sensitive to a lot of things that people say, and they take things to heart a lot more. But then there's also the aspect of where sometimes when we say something, we don't really think of the ramifications on how people will react to it. Now, it also depends on obviously the unknown whenever speaking to somebody who are random strangers. And I think a lot of us take and just throw caution to the wind, not knowing that there's consequences to our actions. Yes, we have freedom of speech, but you say something fucked up and somebody hears it, yeah, you're going to get fucked up.
Yeah, like I said, responsible free speech, and in my case, age. And having a kid also changes some of that too, but I had done a lot of that changing before the kid come around. There's a local Ashtabula podcaster, David Jackson. I highly recommend his stuff. He's had a lot of chats about this lately. He's a blurred, so he does a lot of nerdy stuff. I follow him because he's one of that niche of Power Ranger nerds. But he also works for a local business in the area. He's got a white wife. He has a beautiful little daughter. He's a father. So he's got a pretty full perspective. And then I grew up in an extremely white small town. It's not as much now, but when I grew up, there was 2 black kids in my entire neighborhood, a handful of Mexican and or Puerto Rican, because we were near Geneva, where a lot of those guys lived. And Madison was known for its nurseries. It's extremely fertile soil, but it's a tiny little town. I grew up before there was even a Walmart there.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, Walmart bankrupted a lot of the local businesses, and it only got there because it flooded certain things with money.
Yeah.
But my son now lives in Paynesville, which is a much more mixed community. And he was too young up until a certain point, and he comes home and says, that little boy down the road, something about him. I said, what little boy? And he points and he says, that brown boy. I'm like, oh, okay. But I had to ask David, I'm like, all right, so now he's at the age now we're starting to notice this difference. Like, you having this spectrum of experience, like, what's the right way to do this? Like, he's a kid, so he's not going to mean anything by it.
Yeah.
But, like, what's the right way to guide him so that, you know, he grows up a little better than I did?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, I don't have any kids, number one. But the main thing that my dad taught me was to be open-minded a lot, to learn to not just be a horse with blinders when it comes down to receiving anything, and learning to take everything in and then deciding for yourself what's more of a preference for yourself. What do you feel is best and necessary for your own survival? I mean, if you think about it, a lot of the things that we do is based upon being able to survive. You know, you look at the society we live in, and a lot of the decisions we make is so that way we can better survive. You think about it, they say you got to make more money to get this, to get the things that you want. And then people sit there and just try to grind and do what they have to do to make more money. They don't think about anything else. But that's just like the society that we live in. And even if we didn't have that social aspects as human beings, you look into the animal kingdom, they do things to survive. You know, you got male lions who team up together to create a pride, and they work together. Why? Because it's a better chance of survival than being by yourself. You know what I mean? So I would say the best advice would be to teach them just to be open-minded about it. You know, open up and being able to see a lot more, because the more you know, the better you, like, the more things you see and experience, the better your chances of survival. I'm not saying it's guaranteed though, but I would say, you know, using the description of like brown or black colored, you know, expose them to those things, the negative and the positive aspect. Don't just hide the negative aspect, because if you hide the negative aspect, when he suddenly becomes exposed to the negative aspect, he wouldn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, I had to, he's a little bit older now than when that happened, but I had to give him a brief explanation when I couldn't go to Cleveland because it was during those riots. My art studio's in Cleveland. And there were a few nights that week I needed to go out there to take care of a project I'm working on for him. But 2 nights in a row, I'm like, I can't, man. There's like these riots going on.
Yeah.
So I had to explain that situation to him. His mother's Christianity tends to be less open-minded than me at this point in my life. But she's still a pretty good mother. But speaking of on and on, off again, from experience, I'll say it's a trap. Just be careful. But I'd like to move on to Mary and find out what's going on in your life.
Okay, well, I am working on writing a romantic comedy called Start with a Whistle. And it's about a young Black woman who is completing her master's in marine biology.
Hey,
And she's working at a sea park training dolphins. And she meets a young man and decides that she's going to start training him, like the dolphins, to be the man of her dreams, but learns in the process how to become the woman of his dreams. So very sweet.
This is for film?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm also looking eventually to re-edit the short version of the documentary Mama's Men and stop telling myself to wait till I can do a feature. Just redo the short, put the revised version up on the Russo brothers page, and then use that to try to raise the money to make the feature-length version that I still have in my heart.
Cool. So you're staying busy.
Trying, recuperating. I was diagnosed with heart failure back in October. And I've been in quarantine long before the rest of you people. So I'm really getting cabin fever. And the idea of me talking to other people where I could see faces. Wow.
Imagine that craziness. Socialite. You mean, wait, you don't have this going on the whole time?
Yeah, I live in a building of seniors and we all have our masks. And
Right.
amazingly been very lucky, although the priest from our parish at Our Lady of Mount Carmel, one of them, did die of COVID.
Oh, that sucks.
So that's, it keeps reminding us all that it's very real.
yeah.
Yep. All right. Aaron, you were the next to log in. You want to give us your currents? What you got going on?
Well, between fighting a terrible bandwidth, I'm not sure how much longer I'll be able to be in here. Just been putting off working, but with still writing the collateral, trying to do more concept videos for that. I might release like a 5-minute short just as a proof of concept. Other than that, that's pretty much been my days working on that.
How's Dante?
He's doing all right. He
No
went to
behavioral
bed a
issues
little
from
early.
like the abrupt school ending and all that good stuff?
No, he's asking to go to the beach, and it's like, no, we can't yet. It's not good. Still not good. So
Yeah, the beaches are open, by the way. I've
Yeah.
been.
yeah, we're not doing that.
You are
We're not
more
doing
than
that.
you are allowed to make that decision. You are his father.
Yeah. His mom and I are both not. We're on the same page with that. It's like, that's not a good idea. She has stuff in the back. I can grab stuff in the back, so we're good.
Oh yeah, you got a big yard. I kamikaze something at her house today.
I recently noticed I'm reaching middle age. I got a mower with a bagger on it. I was used to do it. Wait a minute. I was used to doing the whole discharge out the side, make sure it
Do
goes in a
you
circle
care
and all
about your
that, so
lawn now, Aaron?
No, wait a minute. I got this one with a bagger on it, and I'm going back and forth, and I'm just watching where I'm walking, and it's like, wow, this is nice. I don't have to rake it up. It's nice, neat lines, and oh my God, I'm fucking old.
Wait, which was it? Rodney Carrington or Dane Cook that made that joke that we reference all the time? That when you care about the lawn, you're old.
That's Bill Hicks.
Bill Hicks, that's right.
Yeah, it's when your sock starts dangling and you don't care, that goober moment is upon you, you're about to start worrying about your lawn.
Aaron and I met when he was 15 and I was 19 in early 2000 or 2001. And we went through a lot of CDs of old comedy albums and whatnot.
I
How
tried.
old? Like George Carlin old? Like,
Not that old, old for us, I guess. A lot of hillbilly stuff for some reason. I think we liked making fun of our family through those comics.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
Your Uncle Tom.
Yeah. He's the one who introduced us to Rodney Carrington, so it was only fitting.
I grew up on cassette tapes of Adam Sandler.
Speaking of going back through stuff, I've been trying to isolate the video for, you've seen the Next Tuxes stuff, but I tried to isolate some Aw Dudes. I forgot how high my voice was.
All right, so we've known each other so long, we have a pile of inside jokes that only us find funny. What started my art group, Heyman Productions, was me and Aaron making a film called The 100 Deaths of Barbie, where basically we just went to various places and found different ways to destroy Barbie dolls. We never finished it.
Yeah,
It's a bunch of like old VHS tape stuff that I ultimately transferred to DVD and then put up on my YouTube.
And the battery acid is the most boring 5 hours I've seen yet. It's 5 hours.
It's supposed to be time lapsed.
I know.
It does nothing. It does not dissolve the Barbie like I hope.
I had that thing running at 25 times, and you don't see anything moving. It's just you walking in the background every now and then.
I used the battery acid just to run out the clock on the DVD.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have warned you about that. But Aaron was just before puberty, and he had this habit of saying "aw, dude" a lot. And it only became apparent how often he did it when we watched that video back 100 times.
Yeah, so oh, dude.
I have my catchphrase is garlic stick, and it's only funny to us. But Aaron's "aw, dude," I challenged him recently to sample that audio to make a song out of it.
I'm still gonna. I just have to sit through hearing all of that.
I promise I'll give you a garlic stick if you finish it up. I'll give you the audio for garlic stick.
I'm debating whether or not to finally make that clean stream thing too. With like, hey, how does it work? It's a river.
So this terrible movie had a pile of parody commercials we came up with. Clean stream was one of them. None of them are funny to anyone but us. Although the part where we beat Dave.
Funny.
Huh? Nick's Tux is funny. Mafia-style Tux company.
Do you guys ever see Kentucky Fried Movie?
I've heard of it. I have not seen it.
No.
You ought to take a look. See if you can find it.
Was it?
Okay.
Wasn't there another one of shorts that we got a bunch of ideas from, or we were going to steal some of them for our movie? I can't remember what it was, but whatever.
You just wanted to rip off the GTA 3 commercials.
Yeah, I wanted to make them real commercials. Oh, we were obsessed with Grand Theft Auto 3. He was 15, and I was teaching him all the wrong shit. Basically, he was better at the game, so he did all the missions for me while I sat there and talked shit. And I introduced him to hentai.
Yeah, that's a great thing to talk about, showing a 15-year-old hentai.
You're a guy. It's cool, right? I had a fiance at the time. I divorced her, but that's cool. Yeah, good fun.
Yeah,
all right.
That's about it for me.
Any new projects you want people to be interested in?
Well, like I said, I'm doing the collateral. That's what I'm working towards.
Okay.
So that's pretty much my main thing right now.
Alrighty. We're going to move on to Jace. Suddenly caught you off guard. Give us your currents. What's going on with you, man?
Can't hear you.
Yeah, turn up your audio a little or something.
Well, a lot of it has to do with me, talking very quietly, because I'm trying to think of what to say.
What do you have going on
right now? You sound like you're in a tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I've been trying to fix the audio. I think it has to do with the. Let's try that.
Is the volume up?
Because it worked fine before.
What happened to your headset?
It's broken.
Okay, that okay.
That's why I'm not wearing one. But at the same time, it's just because I hear myself, and it's extremely. I know it's really echoey, and I hate it.
Well, I just wish I knew, because I was just out there and I had these mics that actually Ryan gave me, and they're just sitting around. I'm not using them.
Oh, you mean the trash picked ones?
Yes.
I'm not worried about those. switching out. I don't think that'll help any.
Tell you what, Jace, why don't you play with yours for a minute? Play with yourself for a minute, and then I will. I'll go mine because you guys know me. I can always talk shit for hours and never shut the hell up. For those of you that aren't familiar with me too often, you know I'm an artist. I'm a junk artist. So basically it means I jump in dumpsters and turn that into shit. And I work with Ingenuity Cleveland, who puts on Ingenuity Fest. It's normally in the end of September. I have been told it's still happening. I'm not confident in that right now. Normally we do a ball during the summer that is the fundraiser for materials to build for the main festival in September. And that didn't happen this year, unless they got some of that emergency grants for arts or something. But also having an event that attracts 15 to 20,000 people, I'm not sure if that's it would not happen because of that, even if it is September. I built a few big installations. My main art project I was trying to focus on was the Genesis Garden. It's a junk garden, and it's mainly because I have a bunch of shit I dumped on Aaron's property I want to get rid of. Basically, you put a bunch of junk around, you plant around it, and you let things grow on it. My studio is in Cleveland near 55th and Superior, and I go down Superior to pick up, my helper is a 14-year-old or 15-year-old friend, child of one of my friends. And I'd pick him up in Coventry and drive down to my studio, and we'd basically drive through that war zone that is East Cleveland in Superior. And I got into contact with a few people and found a map where you can find out which of that property belongs to the land bank or the Cleveland Land Reutilization Project. And you can purchase or lease that land for community projects. So I wanted to purchase one of those lots and do that. But even the people to contact for that in the city, they have to come out and inspect, and you give them a proposal and all that stuff. I got the "we are out of the office" message and never any other response. So all art projects kind of got put on hold. I had this huge art scene I wanted to do called the Analog Renaissance. It's a follow-up to my Analog Kingdom book that imagines this world of where all recycled imagination goes. It's kind of like this post-apocalyptic junkyard satire thing, based a lot off the visuals of our Destructicon events. It's just a playground of destruction. We put things in my yard to destroy, and we would break it all day long. And I added quite a lot of theatrics to it, so our photos turned out really cool. The Analog Kingdom book, the first one was one of those bifolds I make. It's an art scene that goes with the Analog Kingdom installation, which is the throne of TVs, where I let everyone come up there and get their cool-ass pictures. All the TVs work. They're old CRTs. And you got props, like you got a hammer and a TV helmet and a baseball bat and all that cool stuff. The Analog Renaissance was going to be a second book where we took as many of the unfinished ideas we ever did and just filled the book with shorts of that, and then unfinished film ideas, like we would do a trailer, like an ad for a movie that's never happened, or a part of a script that never got finished. And then a bunch of like imaginary fanfic stuff from my son and all sorts of other people. That, if it's going to even get put more together, is going to be till the winter. I was unemployed for 5 months. I have degrees in engineering and computer tech, and got fired from my job. And for about 5 months, I remained unemployed, not being able to find a job. Then COVID happened. And it was at the point where I needed to pay my damn rent. I got 1 month of rent out of that stimulus. So I took the first job available, which was the Salvation Army, because I had to work there to pay off a speeding ticket. I got one in Cleveland going to a job interview. And then 2 weeks later, they closed the building for COVID-19. So I voluntarily took a 2-week quarantine after that because I had been in Cleveland near someone who might have potentially been exposed. He started having a fever. I wound up never having any symptoms. His symptoms were so mild that he never had to go to any doctor, and his symptoms were resolved. And I didn't actually see that person for a whole month, but I maintained isolation for 2 weeks, as they recommended at the time. Then I went out and started job hunting and got a manager job very easily at the Dollar Tree. And that worked for a short while. Then the temp agency started calling back for my background, which is usually quality stuff in factories. I got another job for that, but I had been unemployed so long, that in combination with poor impulse decisions, I had built up credit card debt. So for the last 3 weeks, I had been working 60-hour weeks in 4 days. I kind of hate it a lot. I really hate working for a living, in case that's not obvious. What I like to do is art, and no one pays me for that. So no job I've ever had has lasted longer than 4 years. None of them hold my interest long enough, or I do something to get fired. In my time, I have started working when I was 14. I am now 37. I have had 36 different jobs. At many times, multiples, because one job wasn't enough. When I was a teenager, I had to work 3 jobs because I really needed to move out of my parents' house as soon as possible. And when I was 18, I did just that. So that's what I've been doing. The Dollar Tree might be coming to an end. I finally kind of hit a breaking point and said I need a week off from both jobs. I'm not going to get a vacation this year, but my son's birthday is July 8th. And he is going to miss a lot of what he might with my parents and all that because of this. So I decided to give him me for the week, take his presents and spread them out one each day, and here and there with whatever his mother's got to do. She has 2 high-risk people at home and has been frustratingly paranoid about getting her parents sick. My parents are both immunocompromised. My father has an immune disorder. My mother has no spleen. And my younger brother is mentally ill from drug abuse. So all that good fun, I took the week off to spend with my kid as much as I can. Aaron and I actually during that week are going to do a, is it film commentary? Is that what we're doing? Oh.
Yeah, we're going to watch Robo Geisha.
It's this terrible B movie that's how did I describe it? I don't know. It's got Power Ranger level effects, I'll tell you that. It's special effects. It is really good. I cannot do the description well. I would recommend you just Google Robo Geisha. I found it in the Menor Public Library.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to hit every single trope with 90s Power Rangers or Godzilla-like effects.
Godzilla, I feel, would have been better.
Except for the tank. The tank mode was not Godzilla that I saw in the trailer.
And that's the part where I would have said a little Quentin Tarantino in there. The level of violence and gore is kind of Quentin Tarantino-esque. Like a little bit like a Japanese version of a blaxploitation film. It's got a little bit of that to it too. It's not a good movie, but it's worth the watch because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, it's something that's going to be so great because it's awful.
Right. If you're an anime fan, I would liken it to Fooly Cooly in that level of this is not good, but I can't stop watching it because of how ridiculous it is.
Yeah. It's like I did not hit her, Mark. I did not hit her. I did not. What's that movie? It's like, oh hi, Mark. What is that movie? I cannot remember. I saw it on the Hilariosity video. I'm trying to remember. Does anybody even remember the movie? I'm gonna have to look it up. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Who was
I'd say
in it?
Google the details, and you'll probably get the title right away.
Probably.
That's what I do for songs all the time, and I can't think of what the damn song is. I Googled the 3 lyrics I remember and instantly told the answer.
I'm trying to think. I know they did a reenacting of it. Where I think his first time making a film, directing a film, he starred in it. James Franco played him. I can't remember what it is.
I know what you're talking about. I know what that is, and I can't remember either.
Yeah, that's I'm just
What movie was that?
The effects
are bad.
Huh?
The effects are bad.
The effects were so bad, the movie was so bad, but you couldn't stop watching it. That's how bad, how insane it was. I think it ended up getting like I don't know if it got an award for like the worst film, which was just fucking hilarious. I think. God damn, what is it called? And one of the guy, I think, he had like his eye was kind of like it was like kind of down or something. I don't know. It was really weird.
Like not coming
Oh,
in.
hey, Aaron, by the way, since you're a filmmaker, there's a certain person we know that I think would make an excellent, unique character in any movie. But he can only play
Really?
himself.
Here, hold that thought. It's the disaster artist.
Yes, that's what it was.
Okay, what were you saying, Ryan?
All right, there's a person we know that would make the greatest character in a movie, but only if he plays himself. Cajun.
I don't know. I can only be around Cajun so often and so long.
That's why he would make a great character. He would be your Samuel L. Jackson with a lazy eye. But only if you cast him only as himself.
Yeah,
You basically just let him rip for a while, record what he does, play with that, and send him home so he's not around you anymore.
Yeah, I guess that could work. I don't know
And
how long he would actually be in it though.
I just think he's an uncaptured genie in a bottle for a specific role. He's just such a unique character in real life. He's your Jason Mewes, basically.
I don't know if he's my Jason Mewes.
Well, he's
probably
a Jason
yours.
Mewes. He's the black Jason Mewes. How about that? Andre would be in your Stan Lee cameo / Kevin Smith.
Yeah, I talked to him about that. He's like, hey, he goes, if you got something like that, awesome. Because I'd be honored to be doing something like that. He's fine being a repeat.
See, and he's an actor. Oh, I have a person to admit. So, LaRhaun, you were talking earlier about poetry about suicide. That's a lot of my poetry lately. I have been depressed for a while. I am diagnosed as hypomanic, but I do get super depressed because I'm really lonely. And a lot of it comes from lack of physical intimacy with people. Of course, I know my son loves me, and it's my son that keeps me alive most days. But my son's not with me. He doesn't live with me.
Zoom when I got home.
Hey, Kat. We
Hey,
hear you.
how you
in the
doing?
background. I was in the middle of something. I'll finish, and then we're going to go to you. Are you
Sorry, I didn't
intentionally?
know it. I'll mute myself. Sorry, buddy.
That's fine. We'll come back to you. So I've been on dating sites when I'm at these jobs. The first factory job I got during all this, I instantly walked in and realized I'm not going to respect it at all. Because most of the people spend the time telling me how much they hate the person I'm replacing.
Wow.
Wait, did you say dating sites while you're at these jobs?
Yes, I did. I'm on
confused.
my phone. I'm
How does
on my
that work?
phone looking at profile pics while I'm working.
Oh, okay. And that gets people to tell you how they hate the person you're replacing?
Those two have nothing to do together other than the reason I thought I could get away with dicking around there is because I don't care about the job.
Yeah.
Okay, I had where you're swiping through Tinder and everything, and then somebody comes up, sees what you're doing. John really sucked, and he didn't last long.
Wait a minute, I'm getting my phone because there is some shit you gotta hear. Anyways, that's one thing I've been doing, and then I'm not the big social media buff, but Facebook is basically my website for HEYMAN Productions. I've been kind of duplicating some stuff to the other ones that people use more, just to kind of have a backlog of stuff if anyone looks me up. But I've been swiping through profile pics, and yeah, it's kind of terrible who I've been finding. There's one girl that was a burlesque promoter, and we knew for a while, and I ran across her again on Tinder, and I was catching up with her and seeing if she wants to meet at my studio with this kid so that here's a safe environment where it's not just us and you can see me working on art. It's mostly what I like for companionship is someone to bullshit with me while I'm working on an art project. And she was all set to do that up until the day before, and I didn't understand some acronyms she sent at me and said, we're too far apart. It was nice catching up with you. And I'm like, okay, cool. I guess I'll see you in another 8 years. The reason she kind of asked to sleep with me when she was helping me build my first studio, but I was in a weird place with my son's mother was pregnant with my kid at the time. And the reason I was building the studio was so that I could put all the stuff that would be unbaby safe into one place and lock it up.
Mm-hmm.
And she was helping me with that, but then kind of made passes at me. And she was kind of intimidating and scary. I wonder if I deleted her messages. Because I'm trying to find, because maybe I guess I could have Googled this, which she told me to do, and then I told her I'm at work right now because I didn't want to Google it. Okay, AAVE. Anyone know what that means?
What the fuck is that?
I don't know. I said something about, I went to say hello, and I just went, yo. And she says, lol, that's so cringy. Please don't use AVE, AAVE. And I said, AAVE, question mark? You do know you're literally holding a tiny computer and you can self-educate on things you don't understand, right? I could if I was not at work. It was really nice catching up with you, Ryan. I don't really have the energy to outline all the things we're too far apart on to be worth investing any more energy into this conversation or whatever. But best of luck with everything.
Wow.
Does anyone understand what happened?
Google says AAVE is an acronym for African American Vernacular English. Other terms for it? Okay. Well, I'm not sure where
Yo
that
means
applies.
that? I thought yo was like white trash at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's someone off of OkCupid.
Really? I use Dear Stranger.
I don't know, but it doesn't sound like a very good person if that's their response to yo.
No, I was kind of hoping in the years between she turned out to be less of a bitch because I stopped having conversation with her because she was a bitch.
Is she still a burlesque performer? Because, I can keep that name in mind with the
No.
communities that I'm in.
She's not, as far as I know, because she was a bitch.
Well,
So people stopped wanting to work with her.
Yeah, can you do me a favor and send me her name? And
I will
just so I can keep that in.
So this other person, we had a couple of, hey, what's going on? And then she sends me her number to text her. And then she starts asking, like, are you talking to other girls?
Duh.
Yes, I'm on a dating site. Apparently she just had a baby with a guy she met off Tinder.
Ooh.
So red flag there. According to her, he left for Sydney, but that sounds kind of stupid.
Sydney's a person.
I know this is not going to come a surprise to you, Aaron, but she's from Conneaut. As soon as anyone mentions Conneaut, my alarms go off as ooh.
Yeah.
And then she says, are you sure you want to date me? I'm kind of ugly. Just fucking let me make that decision.
Kinda ugly to where it's like you have a few beers and she looks better, or before?
Well, this is what she says. I didn't comment on that. I said, isn't that supposed to be my decision to make?
Pretty much.
Oh, wait. I don't need anyone in my life. Just lonely. Too bad no one wants to date me. And then my comment was this. I mean, that last comment might have something to do with it. Why you say that? That's cool. You don't have to date me. Awesome. And then I replied you're basically telling people you're not worth dating before they ever decide themselves.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you ever hear this? When you see crazy coming, cross the street.
Yeah, except Aaron, you've met my ex-wife, right?
Yeah, I have.
I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And then he met my son's mother.
Yeah, honey, we all make those mistakes at some point.
So a lot of my depression has to do with being super lonely. And I made the comment, my mother got into a fight with me the other day because I wouldn't bring my son over for his birthday because his mother won't let me. I was willing to make accommodations. She's not. And I'm not sure if you know this, but the courts aren't necessarily fair to men, the good-hearted kind, because too many of the not good-hearted kind have ruined it for the rest of us.
Yeah.
And the courts have never asked me for child support. And I'd like to keep it that way. They stay out of our business. She files
The
the
courts would
paperwork.
prefer it that way.
She gets medical care for her and my son, and she gets food, but they don't get cash. So I'm sure that plays a role in it. And I do pay child support based on a private arrangement between the two of us. I also keep a record of it.
That's good.
But that record could not mean shit because, you know, my mother got hit for child support on her first two children when the children were in their 30s and had to spend 30 days in jail because she couldn't instantly come up with $10,000.
Yeah.
My mother's parents raised her first two children. And then she had children with my father, and he raised us with her. So that good fun. I've depressed everyone. Jace, do you want to? Jace, do you want to come to you?
I have brats to deal with. I gotta go.
All right, you go do that.
Oh,
Pat, we're
yeah,
coming
that
to
I
you.
could hear.
Matter of fact, speaking of relationships, I actually let's see, as soon as I left out of my my longest relationship with Kenya, what ended up happening was I met someone. I started getting on Plenty of Fish. So a buddy of mine, Justin, I worked with at Astro Shapes, told me about Plenty of Fish. Got on there, messaging, got a whole bunch of bots until I would always lead with just sarcastic remarks just to see if anybody actually had a sense of humor and just also to tell if they're actually a real person. So the one woman I met on there who replied, I can't even remember what the remark was though, but her remark, she was actually able to go toe to toe with me, and just being sarcastic and hilarious. So eventually, decided to like meet up. She was actually from Newcastle, and after meeting up with her, the first time didn't meet up because I was getting like I drove all the way out to Newcastle and then suddenly was waiting, and then I just turned around. I was kind of pissed off because she never showed up. She said said it's the excuse saying that her phone died on her while all kinds of stuff was going on. So I kind of felt bad. I was like, damn, her phone died. She actually was trying to meet me up there. And then she told me that something was going on with her brother, that she was real depressed. Said her brother has to go to court with some issues and said that she needed to get a good lawyer. So I felt really bad and ended up met up with her, ended up giving her $500 so she can get a lawyer and everything, right? So, and we was talking about dating exclusively. And long story short, we used to just meet up randomly. At times I would drive all the way out, meet her. And this is when I was working at GLI. I was working long hours, and typically I was basically paying I'd never been involved with the court system at all. So I was paying for her. She was supposed to, I think she said she was on house arrest. And I was paying for her, I forget what it was called, restitution or something like that, but I was paying for that. Started out like around 300 something dollars or whatever a month to like twice a month. Was paying her that, and I would just meet up with her. Sometimes I'd meet up with her mom, most of the time, and then was paying that on top of her and her son's cell phone bill. And then eventually it got to the point where I was like, okay, something like this does not add up, because I met up with a friend of mine and he was in jail. And he told me, he says, Ron, there's no way it would be that much. So I ended up using her social security number, had all her information. She had none of my information, but I had all of her information. And I was able to just look her up. I called in and then asked, and then they told me, they said, yeah, she's not even, she's not even, like, they just told me straight up, that if it was any kind of like having issues in terms of like with payment, it would be nowhere near that amount, not even twice a month. It would only be just once a month. And they actually help in terms of like with payment plans and stuff like that. So they said the most it'd probably be like $100 if that was the case. In order for it to be around $300, the amount that that person would have like overall would be over $10,000. And so after that, I would say all in all, the amount of money I spent on that woman was roughly around $7,000.
Ooh.
So you were some sugar daddy.
Yes.
So were you basically paying for a prostitute?
Believe it or not, it was hilarious because we had only had sex three times in a course of 10 months.
A very high priced one.
Yeah, I wasn't even pushing the sex issue. I just wanted the companionship. I didn't care about the sex. To me, that wasn't my issue. I didn't care. And I never pushed it. And then when I talked about actually meeting up, that's when she was just like, all you guys think about is sex. All you guys think about sex. That's all you guys want to do is fuck me. And I was like, that's not really the case. So, and then afterwards, once we cut it off, what ended up happening was is exactly how it had ended. Not permanently, believe it or not. A couple years back, it was around a time when she wanted to get something special for Jay, her son. And she wanted me to spend $200 on a pair of Jordans. I disagreed with her. I said, no, I'm not spending $200 on a pair of Jordans for a kid. Okay, especially after he cussed your ass out and punched you. Okay, so long story short, I ended up not giving her the 200. I just said, I'll give you 100. Okay, we can get up something with $100 since he started being good. And then I had money for a deposit to get a place. $575 for us to get a place together. And he's over here is actually around the time when I actually started smoking weed and actually enjoyed it with her. And then suddenly just smoked and then gave her the money and took him ice skating. And after the next day, didn't hear anything from her the entire day. Didn't hear anything from her at all. Spent Christmas Eve and Christmas alone getting drunk because I was straight up broke. I gave her all my money for that deposit, didn't hear anything from her. And the only thing she can say to me was, yeah, we're done. And then blocked me.
She got all she could out of you, and then she ran.
Yeah, and she just dipped out. I have no closure, no nothing. Like that point, I hit a breaking point to the point where that's what I said, like when I started writing like again I started poetry again at that moment, and it was like I spent all that time. The only person that actually helped me out was my buddy Christian. And then up until New Year's is when she contacted me again. And then after New Year's, I was like, no, I'm actually going to enjoy my time with my friends. You can go fuck yourself. And then after that, met up again. But this time it was the opposite. She was actually over here talking about wanting to do stuff for me. Did not pay into anything. We was actually in a quote unquote relationship, and then found out that she was talking to another guy. I found out because the guy tried to punch my window. Her neighbors actually told me that that they knew who I was, that I was a good person. They knew his parents, and they said they would contact his parents. They just told me to leave. Don't worry about the authorities. They're going to come here. Long story short, she told me that she was in love with him and that she wanted to be with him, and I simply said, okay. She goes, all kinds of things in the book, and I was like, okay, so why are you texting me then? Why are you contacting me? Why are you contacting me? Then go be with him. And then next thing you know, she was like, okay, contact me again. And then after she left him, quote unquote, whatever it is, I would say this year, me and her became friends, simply just friends with benefits. It was at the beginning of this year, friends with benefits. And things ended on to the point where, because I told her I honestly, at that point, I really just didn't give a fuck anymore. I wasn't giving her any money. I wasn't paying for any of her bills. I wasn't doing any of that stuff. She was mostly just contacting me. She would give me gas money to come out there. She would do whatever it is. And then eventually got to the point where she said she just wanted to be single and have fun. I planned to go to Ocean City. I didn't spend any money on it. It was supposed to be 4th of July weekend. We were supposed to go to Ocean City. And I wasn't friends with her on Facebook, but Snapchat. She hits me up multiple times just to have sex. That's it. I said, okay. And next thing you know, she said she just didn't want to do this anymore. She just wanted to be strictly friends. But that was after the night before where she hit me up to actually have sex. Randomly just wanted to have sex. And I was like, okay. Came out there, did our thing. And then the next day, she told me she only wanted to be friends with me and the other guy because she has to deal with this stuff. And I simply just said, okay. I really didn't give a fuck because I was still talking to my ex that I was with for 7 years. And she and I are actually getting more serious because, and I did hurt her a lot, pretty bad. And I'm kind of going through that and accepting that a lot of things that I've done, decisions that I made was for that chick. All because of like false love, that whole notion that it was just basically an illusion. But it was a two-way street, you know what I mean? I kind of fell into it, and part of it wasn't 100% her fault. Part of it was my fault as well. And eventually, once I worked through some of that, and I had to go through some therapy as well, to the point where I kind of just accepted that, you know, I think a part of it was mostly just me not being able to accept who I was, that I was just a flawed human being, and just coming to a realization that I didn't have any male influences at all. All I had was myself. I had to figure out everything myself. When I asked my dad how to shave, he just told me, he was like, well, you're going to have to figure that out. I love my dad. Don't get me wrong. I love him. But I had no male influences except what I see and what I read. That's it.
That's messed up.
Yeah, I learned about love from Sailor Moon. I didn't have that modeled at home.
Yeah.
It has not always worked out well having a fantasy of what love is instead of the real thing.
Yeah. The fantasy of love was what I had to base everything off. And that was off of anime, books, not the Twilight series.
Oh,
But
thank God.
Disney is a problem for that too. And
Oof.
homework.
Prince Charming. It's
Mhm.
never that easy, damn it. Catch up
Yeah.
with all those princesses a decade later. Let's see how many of them are still married.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why I now realize my romantic comedy is more important than ever. It's about people learning to value each other and treat each other with respect
Yeah.
and affection, and learn about weaknesses that need support and strengths that need to be shared.
Yeah. And that's another thing too, is that even though I may, even though I had like some people who have those male influences in their lives, regardless, at the end of the day, we're still learning how to be ourselves every day. Doesn't matter if you have like whatever education you had, doesn't matter your background or where you've been. What matters is the fact that we're still trying to figure that out every single day. My ex, Kenya, she and I was talking just the other day. We were so comfortable around each other. I'm talking about just laying in bed, and we talked about it. And she said I had to build her trust back, and I said, no, I understand that 100%. All I can do is control myself, and whatever happens, happens. I have to accept it. We all have to accept it. And I think another thing that happened as well that kind of like clicked in me was the fact that I had a moment where I felt like I was going to die. I was getting high at home, in my mom's house, just getting high, and all of a sudden, I almost threw up. Went down my windpipe, and it felt like my lungs was going to collapse. Instantly called 911. I was at home alone. I'm just like, oh shit, I might die. And there's actually a book I'm reading. I finished, and I'm reading on the next one. It's like how to, I think it's called How to Not Give a Fuck.
Yeah.
So, my cousin actually recommended when I went out to California. And it just like clicked on. I was on the phone with the police and everything. Told him, I'm just like, oh shit, like I could not breathe. And eventually it started clearing up. And it kind of dawned on me that, like, okay, and it was actually a part in the book I read. And I was like, we all have to accept, and if we can't, accept the fact that we can die any moment. The moment we actually accept that we will die is the moment we'll actually start to live. If you can accept that death will happen, regardless, we're not immortal. You know, we all try to find that way to that path to immortality.
Legacy, things of that nature.
Yeah, our legacy. What can we leave so that we can last forever? You know, and once you realize that, in my ex Kenya, she said, you know, something changed about you. You seem different. Like, why the sudden change of heart? And I told her, I was like, as many times as I spent talking to these other women, trying to be with them, try to figure out what love is, when in actuality, I have had love the entire time. You know what I mean? I had it. And not only that, but the aspect of loving myself. Everything about myself. I love and hate myself. That's what love is. You accept all the flaws in yourself. You know what your flaws are, and you're still figuring out the other ones, but you still love yourself at the end of the day because you're you. That's it. The fact that I always knew what love was, it's not perfect. It's flawed. It's not this fantasy. It's reality that I will die. And if I don't start living my life how I want to, I won't get another chance. And if I do get another chance, well, that's beyond my aspect and my understanding as a human being, because we don't know what's beyond. We don't. We We can guess. We can have hypotheses. We can think on it and ponder about it and talk about it, but we honestly really don't know. Just guess. You know, and I think that once that occurred to me, and I think that occurs with a lot of people, where we just have to live our lives. We're not robots. As many times as people and our bosses try to make us out to be, like with you, Ryan, we're not robots, dude. We weren't meant to live like this.
No, not at all. We just don't live in a society that lets me live like that.
Yes.
There's a website called Pandemic Journals. I'm not sure if they're still active, but they were posting different people's perspectives each day from their quarantines or self-quarantines or their pandemic experiences. And I wrote a short piece for it. It's part of a bunch of digital posts, like Facebook posts.
Mm-hmm.
But it ends with a piece that's manufactured that I wrote called Apathetic Suicide.
Mm-hmm.
The general idea is that, no, I won't kill myself, but if somebody took away the responsibility of living, I would be cool with it.
Yep.
So if I walked in front of a bus accidentally, but I didn't take any effort, and I think in my case, it's because I'm a father. Like, if I didn't have that such an overwhelming responsibility to my son, you know, I'd be in a different place where I'd be more willing to kill myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of people too. It might be something akin to if you have multiple children and a child dies. Like, I've said many times, if my child dies, it's the end of me. But I have one child.
Mm-hmm.
If you had two children, one child dies, you may not want to live anymore, but you owe the responsibility to that next one.
Yeah.
Well, honey, even when one child dies and the other one is still around,
Mm-hmm.
you still have to live for you.
Yeah.
My younger son died when he was 35. I found him dead on the floor from diabetes. And it's, they didn't think he'd live to 25, so he carried on quite well. Had his own comic book store for a while, and got some things in life that he wanted. So it's very sad, and it's a hurt that never quite goes away. But there are still other reasons to continue to live.
I don't disagree with that statement at all. You're absolutely right. In my case, it's a lack of personal strength. So I've had to affix myself to something as the reason to keep going on.
Okay,
Well-
let me correct you, darling. Because you have personal strength. Because you made the choice. This is a daily decision that you are making that you will continue to live for this child. So you have the
I
strength.
can see that. I'm manic, so I have these real vivid fantasies of, worst case scenarios all the time. So I have my own mantra, and I think it's something to that I have to physically tell myself that, hey, what you're seeing isn't real, or this isn't right. I mean, the correct solution most of the time in our society for something like what I deal with is medication, but I refuse it. Because of the level of creativity I have, I don't want to fuck with it.
Right.
I like it the way it is, and I know if I'm screwing with my brain chemistry, I'm screwing with that.
Yeah, that's where I honestly believe. That's another thing too.
What happened to your light?
I have to turn my lights on. Hang on. Yeah,
You're
it
in a
kinda,
black hole.
Oh, I thought maybe the sun just went down.
yeah. Yeah. Give me a sec.
Mine is purposely, I put a purposeful distorted effect on myself. So mine is
Which
on
is
purpose.
annoying me to no end.
I'm aware of that. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with
We
you
should
knowing that.
Better.
we should take advantage of the breaking conversation
There you go.
and say hi to Kat.
Yeah, so
I meant to do that a while ago. 1 second,
Yeah.
LaRhaun.
Mhm.
Hey, Kat, we have not said anything to you in a while.
hello.
Would you like,
Hey,
do you know what we do with this thing? I know you
no,
joined
I
our
do not
poetry
know what we
class.
do with this thing. This is my first experience with this thing. So please, I have an idea just from,
All right.
joining you
So
without
Denny's
intro. But if you
Denny's
want to
Day
expound further, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Denny's Day is a monthly friends meetup, which used to physically be at Denny's until COVID-19.
Right, so I couldn't physically go. So now that it's on Zoom, I can come. Look at
And
this.
after having this for months, because we're adults, and if you don't schedule a meeting with your friends, you never see them.
Right.
We decided to start recording it, and for a while we did topics, but COVID-19 happened. We have always done this thing we
Change
call
the
the
topic
currents.
pretty much.
We call the currents, which is you tell us what's going on in your life. That's all these ones are about, are the currents is, and if a new person, we ask them to give us a 10-second intro, name and anything you want us to know about, so that if you show up on future episodes, the one that says EIDG Productions, that is Aaron Kasunic, and he puts these up as podcasts.
Cool.
And he
Hello,
can
Eric.
kind of rip 10-second modular intros for anybody that might be in that episode. So once we ask you to do the 10-second intro, so that
Then
he has
that's my
that for later.
intro.
Yep. So give us your
Okay,
name
so-
and what you want us to know about you.
So this would be like something that, okay, I get the idea.
You got it?
No,
But
I
today
get the
we've been
idea.
going for 10 minutes. So
You're in
yes.
8 now, so
Give me a
stay.
minute to get a bio together for you.
That's, you don't even have to say, you can just say, I'm Kat and I like to write or something.
Okay.
That's all you really have to say. Some of us do like, follow me on blankety blank, but you don't have to do any of that.
Okay. Well, I have a website. I could say that too.
You can
So,
do that by all means.
that's all I do. I don't have anything to
Okay.
plug. It's just like if you like my writing or whatever. Anyway, so my name is Kat Wolper, and I live in Erie, Pennsylvania. It's a very beautiful city that is always in the news. It seems like it feels like we're known as being like a microcosm, so people are just watching us. And I write poetry, and some of my poetry is about current events and such. but none of that stuff has made it online. My stuff online is always a year old when I publish it, because then it gives you time to sit on it, think about it, revisit it, revise it. Anyway, so come check me out if you're interested in following my stuff. And it's wordpress.unbirthdayalice.com.
Unbirthday, huh?
Would
Yeah.
you be able, sorry to interrupt, but would you be able to post that in the group chat?
Sure.
So that way I can actually copy that, and also anybody else as well.
Yeah.
Any other, like, things as far as the following and other information and whatnot, post that in there so that way I can actually copy it. I don't actually have a pen in front of me right now. But that way I can actually check it out afterwards and whatnot.
And as a reminder for all you there, Beautiful Blasphemy will make poetry books for you. So if you want your poetry to be printed in our little bifold books, we will put the book together, we'll print and distribute digitally or in person for free. So if
Mhm.
the thing you're interested in, just hit me up later. I'll actually put my email down there in case you want to bother me.
Gotcha.
Perfect.
I'll also put my social medias. But Kat, what's your currents? Tell me what's going on in your life. What's bothering you? What's great?
Goodness.
Whatever you want.
So I am losing friends that I had been able to suffer through the 2016 election. Now they're not so much losing friends, and but I'm gaining friends. So like people where I'm like, oh, we have similar values, and like we should hang out more, So it's kind of a trade off. Like I'm losing some people, but I'm gaining some people. So that's weird and fun, and I don't know.
And life.
That's interesting. And then I'm trying to participate in current things that are happening in my city to make changes, and this is really cool. So there was a pride parade this afternoon that I wasn't able to do, but instead I actually did a march through an east side neighborhood. When you guys don't know, but that's like the redlined area. So I was able to march and make a difference, and like people came out on their steps and were like, yeah, and it was great. And then the cops came by and flipped us off, and then
The
it
cops
was
flipped you off.
fantastic. Yes, it was fantastic. And then we went back to our starting place, and the whole walk was about a mile. And then they had Little Caesars pizza for everybody, and I didn't have any because I wasn't hungry. But like it was really nice that it was provided, and there were people with bottled water for everybody, and it was just a beautiful thing. And they're trying to defund the police department such that it funds the other things that are underfunded. They're like, we need to change the way the budget is spent. That's our main thrust. So we'll see if that happens. And it was, but I think I really feel like it might. Like it feels like anything could happen, and it's so wonderful because this time last year I had an existential crisis such that I just felt like I could see all these things that were wrong, and nothing was changing, and nothing was moving, and it just felt like we were stuck. And right now it feels like we are anything but stuck. We are moving, things are changing, and I'm feeling really hopeful. And this time last year I was like despairing. I felt like everything was stuck. So
There's
it's
a
really nice to see that things are moving. It can be kind of scary. And we were talking about safety, and I was in the back of the group because I feel like as someone with this color skin, I should be in the back and be there for support. It's not about me. I'm just here to echo you guys and make you louder. That's all I'm here for, is to make the voice louder. And so um, um, I felt like if there had been any incident with a vehicle, like that's me, I'm in the back. So like next time we're going to have a car in the front and a car in the back so that we're protected a little better from like traffic. But it was really crazy. And then at one point, this little lady next to me, she must have been like maybe 70s, I would guess. Like I couldn't believe she was out there marching with us. But she was at one point was like, there are cars behind us. We're blocking traffic. And I'm like, that's the point. That's why we're in the street. we're only taking up one lane. The other, there's a passing lane around us, and so it's like, um, it's
If
just
it
like
ever,
we're getting seen. That's the point. You know, we're not causing any disturbance exactly. It was just a small disturbance, right? You just have to go around us. It's not a big disturbance like setting fires or
Mm-hmm.
something. But you
if
have to be seen. You have to make some noise, and you want to only make enough noise as is necessary. And sometimes you need more noise, and sometimes you know, a smaller voice will get heard, and other times you gotta raise the raise the volume. So that's what I'm there for. So I'm hoping that a lot of people join us. There's 2,500 of us in the group I'm in that's
Mm-hmm.
trying to organize Erie, and it's so beautiful.
I mean, I'm not an Erie native, but if you ever need it, I have marched in Cleveland and Columbus's prides as a rainbow version of V for Vendetta, and I also drive a rainbow car. So if you ever need a spectacle, I am available.
Well, come on out, because it's the LGBT groups in Erie are like combined with the BLM groups in Erie. Like it's
And
the same people.
and it
So
just so that
come on
everyone
out.
knows the proper labels. I am an ally. I am straight and cis and all that stuff. It just that none of that matters to me though. But sometimes some of those people, I have been accused of putting on gay face.
Well,
For
you know,
your
it's a
information.
spectrum.
Yeah, I know.
It's all
For
good.
your information. Because the purpose of the costume is the same purpose of the comic book character, is that it's not my identity that matters, it's the idea. So the costume is to eliminate my identity to be the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Last, from what I can hear from some of the Erie stuff I've written, I'm more Cleveland centric, but
Mhm.
Erie seems to
Right
be a
next door.
community that has a lot of class and race divisions and warfare, basically.
Well, I wouldn't call it warfare. I would say it's more like a caste system. You know, so like if a certain person that is deemed to be, you know, like lesser than is doing a certain job that is deemed to be lesser than, they're going to get treated well because it's like, oh, good, you're staying in your lane. But the
Mm-hmm.
minute that person tries to rise out of that lane and get a better paying job in a better part of town, or tries to move out of that neighborhood into a different neighborhood, you know, with a more expensive house, or it tries to get a better car or whatever, the minute that person tries to get out of that lane, then you have problems. And people are like, you shouldn't have this job, you shouldn't have this house, you should be way over here, stay in your lane. You know, there's this whole attitude like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's very
So
um,
segregationists.
yeah, yeah, but it's like, I don't know, it's like what part of town you're from. Like you're judged by what high school you went to. It's really interesting because that tells you what part of town you're in.
That's silly.
Well, but it makes sense. You know, certain town schools were like underfunded and in the wrong side of town. You know, and so it's like, oh, you're from Iroquois, so I already have put you in a box just knowing your high school. I know roughly what your family made. I know roughly what neighborhood you were in. I know roughly what your friends were like. Like, I've already put you in this whole box and there's no getting out. And if you try to get out, I'm going to be really mad about it. Like, I can see horrible things everywhere. So, but it's not everybody. Okay. So, like, the people that feel like this whole caste system is bullshit are the ones on the street. And it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes me excited.
I know that
So
years.
instead of just living with your for your kid, which is totally valid and 100% like part of life, you can also expand your um, sphere of influence by getting involved in something bigger than you, so
I
that you feel like you're getting connected with your community and the
I
you
have
know
done
causes
that,
that you support. And
and I feel a lot like that, and I've used it a lot of times to help manage my issues. Ingenuity Cleveland is one of them, being part of an art community. My biggest joy in life is creation. And of course, I always feel like my son is my greatest creation.
Mm-hmm.
But with especially current circumstances, it's exacerbated an, a societal inability to be allowed to do that and still survive and thrive. So it just makes it more difficult on me. And I use my son as a signpost to keep going on often when I cannot see other reasons to do so.
No, fair enough. I mean, that's the highest on the list for sure.
And I've attached myself or tried to support what I can plenty of time, but there are plenty of times where I felt like I've let down what responsibility I could be. I'll throw out something small.
Right, but you don't need to give up though. You know, you can feel like, oh, I should have done more, and then do more.
Loneliness weighs heavy on me, so
Yeah.
I try really hard to be sociable when it's really hard to be sociable, and I come off pretty intense to people and have a habit of scaring them off. I give a small example. So, being lonely, when I lived out in the country, I had cats, and a lot of them, because the cats where I lived was the easiest place to come off the highway and dump a cat. So I had barn cats a lot. Well, it got overwhelming and the cats got sick and died. And when I finally left that house, I told myself I wasn't allowed to have responsibility for cat anymore because I had many, many house cats too, and many of them didn't last long. One lasted almost the entire time that I was a cat owner there. But right before I left, I brought an outdoor cat in to prepare it to be a house cat for someone else. Every other cat had gone. And it interacted with my other house cat, which had seen 3 or 4 other cats be there and had always been a perfectly accepting and normal and friendly cat, a normal house cat. Except in this instance, the cat became mentally ill, almost catatonic. And anytime this other cat would come around it, it reacted really out of character and violently. It was not like this cat at all. So I put that other cat back outside and the person came and got it and that was fine. But this other cat was so damaged that I couldn't take care of it. I was moving into an apartment. It wouldn't really let me have a cat. I could if I really tried hard, but I was already coming off of a foreclosure and all kinds of other good stuff where getting apartments that let you have cats is hard. Getting apartments that let you have cats that aren't Section 8 with a child are really hard too. So I had to give the cat to the Humane Society. Ever since then, and with all the other issues I've had with cats, because I lived out in the country and I was poor, there was a number of those sick and dying cats I had to put down myself. I've always felt like I have failed my responsibility for those animals. 2 weeks ago, I live in Mentor. It's a city where this is much less of an issue than it would have been ever there. I pulled into a parking lot to a comic shop with my son. There's a dead kitten in the parking lot, freshly dead. And at first, I'm like, I'm with my son. I don't want him to see this, right? So I went in the comic shop, did my business. But I thought to myself, I should do something about this. There's a shovel in my trunk. I keep it there all the time for winter purposes. Because my old car used to get stuck so much. It's like a safety net. I'm like, the right thing would be do is to go out there and bury that cat. Because whatever else is going to happen is going to get thrown in a trash can. Instead, what I did was told the comic owner, the shop owner, I'm like, hey, man, there's a dead cat right outside, a dead kitten right outside your door. I know you got kids that come in here. I'm just going to let you know about it, all right? And shuffled my kid in the car so he didn't see it. But ever since then, I have felt guilty that I didn't do the right thing because of how often I didn't. And I went back the next day, but someone had already taken care of it, whatever they did. So that is like a level of responsibility where I feel like I failed in somewhere where I could have been a little better than I am. And I know it's stupid. It's not my thing, but I made a ton of mistakes that didn't help the situation with a lot of animals that could have been better off than me. And I'm not a huge animal activist. I viewed a lot of cats as, you know, a utilitarian farm animal. But I still did not do what I should have done right with them. And often it was because of finances, but often it was because of I was in over my head. So there, that's a terrible story. Enjoy.
Well, I don't know. Part of me kind of disagrees in the aspect of whether or not you did what was right, because a lot of times whenever we make decisions, it depends on the situation. So, for instance, in your case, that was what you felt was right at the moment. You know what I mean? Decisions that you made. And honestly, you know, we're our own like biggest critics when it comes down to it, because when we make certain decisions, we do think about whether or not it's the right or the wrong decision, or whether or not it's because based upon our own morals and values. And I honestly don't see anything wrong with what you did in that aspect. It's coming from my perspective, you know.
From an
But
objective point, no, there's morally nothing really wrong with the situation. It's a personal feeling.
yeah,
It's that if this has to be someone's responsibility, why not the person that owes it, you know?
yeah,
It's and something like Kat would say, like, if not me, then who? And many, many times in my life, I felt like I'm the person, for example, who organizes a friends meetup because all of my adult friends will never see each other again. And 20 years will go by and we'll go, wonder what happened.
yeah,
Well, COVID-19 happens and people are like, I'm super sad and depressed. So am I. Hey. And many of us have gone to therapists, but in my case, I have a trouble connecting with therapists where it doesn't feel pedantic.
hmm
Like I'm paying for a friend to hear me bullshit.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's kind of like paying a hooker to have sex. You know what I mean? You know what you're there for, but it's kind of awkward because you're paying for it, so it doesn't feel genuine at all. So it's like,
yeah,
nah,
in those
nah.
cases, my morals would suggest that to be assisted masturbation. I would liken it more to paying a hooker to cuddle with you after
Thank
sex.
yeah, that's that. Doing something beyond that. If a hooker did something beyond her pay, or
Right.
you know, or paying for some people's cases, but beyond yeah, it then, you know, like if my therapist personally would like, you know, show up outside of the hours of when they're supposed to, you know, quote unquote treat me, um and show up randomly just to see how I was doing or checking in on me, knowing he or she's not getting paid for it.
I had one that did do that, and it's not that I don't appreciate it. I just rejected the effort.
Hmm
And clearly that's often it's not like I'm unloved. It's just not, I'm rejecting what is there, and I can't get, I guess, what I want. So,
Yeah,
and then you fight with that childish aspect of like, tough shit. You don't always get what you want, man.
yeah,
Like,
that's
take
true.
what you can get. But then you reject it because it's not what you're looking for.
Yeah, we're talking about childish aspects. I actually use this. A buddy of mine, Shane, in our D&D group, he's against this whole protests and everything all over the place. They say, why can't people just be happy with what they have and just keep to themselves and so on and so forth? And the way I look at it,
Some people
thank,
don't have what they want or need.
thank you. I use this as an example. I told him, I was like, okay, so you have a newborn child, a daughter, and eventually you're going to get to the point where you're going to be going about your business as an adult. And you automatically think that you know everything. And your child's going to start acting up. They're going to want attention, you know, and there's going to be a point where something's going on and your child is trying to get your attention where they have no choice but to be bad. And suddenly you're yelling and screaming at them, telling them to stop what they're doing. You're being bad. Well, how else are they supposed to get your attention when they're genuinely trying to communicate to you and tell you something's going on? You know, and that's the way I look at it with all the protests that are going on. Okay, there have been multiple instances where people are sitting here trying to say things peacefully. Hey, this is going on. Okay. Hey, this is going on. Hey, did you catch that show the other day? Hey, this is going on. Oh, blah 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 blah. Next thing you know, suddenly they start flipping tables and things like, hey, what are you doing? You're not supposed to do that. Well, how else am I supposed to get your fucking attention?
See, Kat just said it. You're not supposed to do it.
Yeah.
It's like
you get as loud as you need to be. You know, you can start at a whisper and then amp it up slow. Like they don't just start with breaking windows. You know, they started with kneeling, and you didn't listen. So what do you expect? You don't want peaceful protesting. Where is there to go but unpeaceful protesting?
Cat,
Like,
poet woman. I just heard a line that sounds like it could be at the start of your next poem. They started with kneeling and you didn't listen.
oh well, yeah. 'Cause
Ah,
I already wrote it though.
all right, fair. It just, that line caught me. It sounds like something that could be in a poem.
That has a good rhythm to it. Here, I can read it to you. I'm going to go to my WordPress. I'll read it to you. I
All right.
already wrote the poem I wanted to write about that.
All right, I want to make one statement, and then you can, by all means. I have a mother I've had a lot of difficulty with, and she's one of those childish types. She's 62. That doesn't get something like that. You can tell someone you're angry for years, and they don't understand you're angry until you punch them in the face. And the punching in the face is wrong and over the top, and sure, it's overreactive, but it's not in comparison to the years you've been trying to do it the right way.
Yeah.
Or the peaceful way.
Yeah.
All right, Kat, your video froze, but is your audio still good?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it froze because I went off the screen to get the poem up. It's a short poem. You ready, guys?
I'm ready whenever you are.
I promise it's not going to be like a 10-minute like epic thing.
I believe you.
Okay.
I trust in your judgment.
Okay, we protest. Sitting at the counter of the corner diner, Martin Luther King is not served but scorned, making this no longer a fun dining experience for we regulars. Marchers scowl over bridges, silent outrage printed on picket signs. We cruisers and muscle cars, Pontiacs and Lincolns mourn our worry-free Sunday drive. Kneelers at football games bending the knee to justice, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, denied to the least among us, ruin the entire game following the anthem. It's just not fun for us anymore.
And then if you're the poetry reading type, you do the snaps.
That's right. Or
Hey guys,
we just do the claps at my group. We don't snap unless you're holding something with your other hand. If your other hand is busy, then you snap, but otherwise it's clap.
I'm going to take a break for myself to go to the bathroom, but you guys feel free to talk. I have to be
Well,
back.
I'm going to actually be signing off the chat. So it was nice hanging with you.
Pleasure
Nice to
meeting you.
meet you.
I
Bye.
wish you would have come on earlier,
I've actually got to get going too.
but
It's
hopefully,
entirely my fault that we're this late. It's because of the schedule with my son.
but hopefully I'll still be alive next month and can get online.
Perfect.
All
Hope to
right.
see you then, Mary.
Bye bye.
Use this as a bathroom break as well. All right, I'll be right back.
All right.
So how are you doing, Mr. EIDG? Eric, right?
Aaron, yeah.
Aaron,
I'm all right.
okay.
Just trying to. I've been getting a story together. It plays out in my head wonderfully, and then I have to go to the computer, and then it's just a blank. So
Translate it
I've been
into
doing
words.
that, just forcing everything
Yep.
out. Yeah,
I know. It's like,
putting everything
like,
to.
but right where you have those. So if you have like the general plot, then write that, and then if you have like
Mhm.
parts of dialogue, then write that, or or settings. You
Yeah.
can write about, you don't have to do it all at once to write the whole narrative. Like Tolkien did that for instance.
Yeah, I have no writing style that's been set. It's never been start to finish, start here, go there. It's been have an outline here, and then start writing. And then about 5 pages in, I start to notice it's getting off track, and I'm trying to get back to the outline.
Right? It's like, do I want
So
to
then I
go
have to
back to
start.
the outline, or do I want to do something different? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's what I've been doing.
Because sometimes
And,
characters do things you don't want them to do. I have a friend who had this whole rant poem about characters because he did poetry and prose. So he was ranting about his characters who were just going off script. He's like, "What are you doing? Have a mind of their own."
Yeah.
Great. I haven't done prose in a very long time, but I used to. I had a collaborative prose piece where I would write part of it and I pass it. I had a phone job. I was a phone operator, and we would have like collaborative pieces. And we did that with stories, and we did that with drawings. We would have a little drawing, and you'd add one or two things, and then pass it. And they'd add one or two things. Those are really fun.
Okay.
And it was neat
That's
because like
Nice.
different people that you were drawing with would have different ways of going about it. Like sometimes they would try to make it tell a story, or sometimes it was just make it really busy, like a Where's Waldo picture, you know. And it was always fun though. But it was like depending on who you're playing with, the style of the game is going to play out different.
Huh.
It was a yes and
Interesting.
game. You know what I mean?
the
It's not like
Okay. Yeah.
it's not like, oh, that didn't really happen. Like, no, they wrote it. That's part of the story now. You have to go with it. Where does it go from here? It's
that's
fun.
similar to my patchwork jigsaw technique.
It's fun. I tried to do one at a party where a bunch of us that were in the same writers group were at a party together. So I had this notebook, and it was like a collaborative poem piece where you write a line and pass it, and they write a line, and it goes all the way around the circle. That was just bizarre. It ended up really goofy.
Do you have any of that left?
Of course I do.
I would
I don't
like
throw
to
that
publish
shit out.
that. Please,
I don't throw that shit out. I keep that for posterity's sake. Oh, it's terrible, but you would
it
get a
doesn't.
kick
No,
out of it.
we do not judge quality because being good is subjective.
Well,
Yes.
it's amusing, so it is
I'm
that,
okay
but
with that.
it isn't like super quality though. But it
That
is.
doesn't matter. That's a misnomer, anyways.
But I think it would be fun to do it to have two versions of it. So you
Mhm.
have one that's the PDF picture, so you can see everybody's handwriting, and then the other one have it typed out so that you can read it.
You're on Facebook with me, right?
I think so.
Yeah, shoot me a message and ask me to send you the jigsaw books, but I also want to do your stuff.
Okay.
It's very much in a similar vein. I was going to mention, since, we've been talking about depressing shit, so let's talk about something a little more hopeful. The Analog Renaissance was this book of unfinished ideas. I have a spreadsheet of all these other ideas that we used to do. It's going to have this, when I get it together, it's going to have this weird crowdfunding campaign where here's the list of ideas for the book, both art, stories, and otherwise, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you put it up on a crowdfunding site, and whatever the writer said he wants to be paid for it, to write the story. You don't have to write the story. Either a writer will pick one of the ones there, or you guys can submit
Commission.
any of your old stuff,
Right.
and then it goes on the list. And then
That's
that
actually
list
really good. Like commission me to write it, and then I feel like I have to
the
now.
list is cut off when it goes up, obviously, so you can't add more then. But here's the
Oh,
price.
but it could be like, hey, if here's my goal, is like, say $30 or maybe $100 or whatever it is, and then if you surpass that and you make it 200, now I have to write 2 books. I'm
That's
commissioned for 2 books.
part of it. Here, and the way it is that each person who donates picks what story they want it to go to.
Oh,
Or the generic fund, like for me to edit it and put it together, or some other, or they don't specify, then I apply it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What stories get in the books are the ones that the people said they wanted written. The hardest problem with crowdfunding is the network, is that you have to contact individually everyone you know, but then you have to do it repeatedly. And often you piss them off to the point they say, stop fucking bothering me with this. But let's say Kat is the writer for this story, right? Well, Kat contacts her network, and Josh contacts his network for the story he wants to write. Then they come in, and maybe they'll only submit to get Josh's story written. But there's going to be more ideas than we'll get into the book. And whatever gets into the book is based on who paid for it, but it expands the network out to every single one of those writers and artists exponentially. So, and that's the way it works, is the book builds itself piecemeal. And the benefit is, one of the rewards is when that particular story gets funded, you write it, it goes immediately to the people that paid for it before it ever goes in the book. So they get first access to the story. So basically, they're commissioning you to write a story they want to hear. and I'll assemble this into a book later.
Mm-hmm.
That's the idea. Right now I have a spreadsheet of ideas, but not more could be submitted. I haven't gone further than that yet. It's a very time-consuming project just to put together. We've got everything. There's characters in this world, but the stories don't have to revolve around them. There's some art that can go with that. There's comic book panels. There's photos. There's models. There's costumes I can make. There's tons of stories. There's a shit ton of my son's fanfic style stuff. My son is the Destructor Prince in this world, and he has the X-Lands, which is all the forgotten childhood imaginations. And he has his little televisions, which are little tiny TVs that go from world to world, stealing little elements for him to play with. Then there's the Destructor Prince, who runs the world. And he's basically just a dethroned king. He assembles all these stories and stuff together. And then there's a brand new character at the end, which supersedes everything and would kick off the third book, which would then actually be stories about these characters. This book is about their culture. It's about all these stories, connected or not, that can later be tied into real characters or characters in the real world. One of the things I do with this, it's called the Analog Kingdom, is the channel between the channels. It's constantly shifting and changing. When I did the Analog Kingdom book, there's 4 different versions I never told anyone about. Each version looks exactly the same on the outside, but there's a few differences on the inside. This one would be the same thing, but much more pronounced. So one of those, your stories might fit the fantasy genre I wanted to put it into, right? But there's 4 different versions, and that fantasy genre is a different story in each version. Or in Josh's world, there's a zombie apocalypse, which he later turned into a playground tag, childhood games, sort of a consciousness world. They're both variations of similar themes. So they could have the same characters, but they're 2 different stories. So I have them bajillion notes, and that's what it'll be, and I may not get to it till closer to winter. But if you have any ideas you want to submit, please do. If you're interested in seeing the spreadsheet of ideas, I can send that to you too.
I have an idea for a character.
Go for it.
I saw one. You guys heard of the anime and manga Bleach, right?
Yep.
Okay. Have you seen all the way up to obviously the ending and everything?
I have never watched it. I know of it because I am an anime convention volunteer.
Okay. There was one guy, one kid who was a part of the Quincy's, and his ability was anything that he imagined he can make into a reality. So one thing that I did think about was, like, for instance, a character who always dreamed about being a hero, dreamed about having those abilities, always dreamed about saving people, fixing things, and then suddenly things come into become a reality. What he dreams becomes reality. But the problem is that whenever he dreams, he doesn't have control over those dreams. So whatever he dreams becomes a reality, and sometimes it's not the reality that he wants.
That sounds like a cool character. A little sleepwalkery. If you know that character from Marvel Comics, he's a little he's a little obscure because he hasn't been relevant since the 80s. But I also have dreams listed on my list that could be adapted. Being an extremely vivid daydreamer, I very rarely have real dreams that I can remember. I have 2 that I wrote down. They're about my ex-wife. But that's a concept too. You could adapt people's dreams to be stories for this character. Maybe he's not always in his own dream.
No. I think one of the things that I thought about with it, that I thought was actually interesting was that, like you said, You don't always remember what your dreams are. And that may be one also another flaw of it is that he doesn't remember what those dreams are. So when he wakes up, he sees the reality of his dreams. He's reliving his dream. And he
I
doesn't remember it until he actually sees it.
submit that idea to me on any version of social media you want or email, and I will put it on the list.
Sure. That's
Basically,
actually
the
Mhm.
list is a 10-second tagline for what the idea is to get people interested in paying you to write it.
Not bad. Hang on, there we go. Oh, what am that's actually another reason why I've also been getting into D&D lately. One, I've been participating as a character, multiple groups, and I'm actually planning on doing my own first DM session. And I don't know if you guys ever seen Page Master. You ever heard the
Yeah.
movie Page?
Oh, the
Okay.
movie. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I got distracted for a second.
No, it's okay. The movie Page Master. That's actually the realm of which I'm going to kind of build this my first campaign on, where you got a series of books. That's the reason why I've been asking a few people what their favorite books are. One of my friends, Shane, he asked me. He said his favorite books were the Chronicles of Narnia. So in a sense, I'm using D&D as sort of like my own outlet for like imaginations. Being able to, that's another reason why I've been getting into writing for poetry. And I think that I may get more into just as far as with writing. But one of the things is, I know it's a little bit off topic though, but just like you said, as far as with being able to get writers in, I talked with a few of the guys, and I think the one thing that a lot of us were lacking is, because of how society is being run, is our own like community aspect. If you look outside and just in your own community, how much land is available, all that land and the amount of people that's living there, I guarantee you this much, you can actually be self-sufficient if we were allowed to do it. As a society as a whole, just our own little communities, like for instance with you, Kat, over in Erie, just all of you locally working together to actually make the changes occur and to happen. And that's not even everybody. How much change occurs just from just being local and just participating yourselves. And I think that if we, as fellow writers, like gather our own community and start socializing, and oh, I just saw her cut out, Cat.
Yeah. Whoops. That's okay. I'm recording this. You can always watch it later.
Okay.
Or Aaron, make sure this is put up later. That's his job.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, make sure you get the files to me afterwards. When I leave, I'm going to stop recording, but I do have to get going.
That's fine. I understand. Will do. I didn't get to the last ones, but you told me not to.
But,
yeah. All right. I'll see you, LaRhaun, and when Kat comes back or when she sees us, I'll see her later.
but yeah, like it's the self-thriving aspect. I think a lot of people don't realize how efficient that is. You know what I mean? Like when we are paying taxes, we're working as jobs and everything. We don't need jobs. We believe we need jobs. We believe these things is because we were born into that type of society. And honestly, with everything going on with the riots and protests, I believe that, yeah, I think it is about time for a change with a lot of stuff. Like and I'll say this, like in my the one relationship I mentioned to you about it, where I was giving her all this money. The one thing that I did get out of it was, smoking weed. How natural it is as a plant by itself. And that's one of the things I thought about doing, was just researching into it, and not in the aspect of just to get people high off of it, but in the aspect of it just being a natural remedy. growing a garden. You know, you look at a tomato and you grow your own, a farmer, you grow your own food, you know, that type of thing. And if people, as many as like protesters you see outside, like the vast amount of people that you see on TV, you see on social media, that's not even everybody. That's not even the vast majority of people in the world that are coming out and protesting. That's just what, a fraction of how many people are shown. Me, you, like, yeah, you go out, but I haven't been out. A lot of my family members haven't been out. A lot of people I see at work haven't been out. You know, a lot of my supervisors and them haven't
I
been out.
did not go to any of the protests, partly because of overwork and my son, but partly because of fear of myself that I'm easily motivated to something impulsive.
Hmm.
I feel like if you shoot tear gas into a unarmed crowd, you're going to incite them to violence.
Yeah.
About the writing community, by the way, Cleveland had a pretty good one. There was at least a dozen different readings I could go to a month, and almost always there was the same people at each one. The person who led one was a participant at another. So Cleveland, at the very least, had a very strong writing community. Now, smaller cities, that's a lot harder.
Yeah.
Beautiful Blasphemy, Josh has really been stepping up on that in bringing in the performance aspect of it. The last time we had performances, we did one at an actual gallery in Ashtabula. But before that, we held them at my house in protest to being censored at Kent State Ashtabula.
Okay.
We were the English Society. We were censored out of existence. We formed our own group. We ultimately chose to name it Beautiful Blasphemy. And we held the first 6 or 7 readings at my house. Because I was a decade older than all my other friends, and I owned a house, and I was the only one of them who did. So I had a place to do it.
Yeah.
And then we haven't had our own readings, but I've been attending, and for the past decade, it's been mostly me offering this book program to try to keep up that sense of like giving back to that community and connecting us.
Yeah.
So that even if your word couldn't be there, I could spread it around to all the other places.
Yeah.
So there is a writing community, and also look up Josh Romig or JM Romig. He leads a bunch of D&D campaigns on Zoom too, along with his friend Dean Hayes.
Okay.
Dean is a very odd personality. He'll take some getting used to. Josh is much better. Josh is more normal, I guess, is the easiest, shittiest way to describe it.
I remember Josh.
Yep. So Josh is even more stable than he might have been in college. He is married and he's a librarian and he's doing quite well in life, other than the libraries being closed part.
Yeah, that's the messed up part about it.
But he has a nice support structure.
That's good. I think because for instance, my ex Kenya, she's been doing a lot of podcasts, Upside Down Productions, and what she does is she does Metal Mondays, and she's actually mentioned it on there. She told me about it, how she's using it to get out and actually have conversations with people, and she found out that the reason why she wasn't good with talking with people was because she really didn't talk with people a lot. She said that there would be days where she just would not talk at all. She was always quiet, and that's where she started talking a little bit more with a lot of people. And I believe that actually when I was in college, after I came from Kent State, transferred to YSU, there was an essay I did about social media and how, you know, with technology as it is now, comparing it to the past, how you would have to find out about news, you know, the newspaper, locally, or you would see it on television, but even then, it wasn't as worldwide or spread as it is now. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, with the subject of racism, how you hear about Martin Luther King when he was protesting and they're marching. I mean, yeah, in the past, how would you have heard about it? I mean, it wasn't as widespread. You didn't see it on Facebook back then. There was no Facebook. There was no MySpace or anything like that.
People
Um,
are more connected now than ever and more divided because of it.
yes,
They're aware of their differences much more than they used to be.
yes. And a lot of times people see it. Well, they would hear about it, but it didn't really click. Like I said, it didn't really click to them the reality of what's going on until it's right there plastered directly live in their face. Seeing a man killed by a police officer, by police who are paid with our tax money. It's a very shock to your reality. And by your reality, I mean your bubble that you live by. A lot of us live by, and that never witnessed such a thing. You may see it Call of Duty video games and things like that, but that's not reality. Video games are video games. You know what I mean? But when you witness live on your phone a man being killed right there, and cops are just letting it happen and doing it right there in front of you.
Those that are supposed to protect you are betraying you by being the ones committing the crimes you're supposed to uphold.
Yes. And that right there is scary, because as our founding fathers said, the people we are the militia. We outnumber the government, the tyrannical government that we fled. And I say we, and a lot of my sisters and them disagree with me on this. They say, well, you're African American. No, I'm not. I was born here in North America. I'm an American. Okay. I don't fucking care. Yeah, I do care that in the aspect of what happened in Africa, and but my blood is so mixed that it really does not matter, because I'm an American, and our
Many-
founding fathers.
As many of us white folk and whatever, or Americans in general, that want to try to pretend like we're of a certain race, we're all fucking mutts here, man. That's what America is. God knows what the fuck is in me. I can say I'm Irish, but I don't know that.
Yeah. I mean, there's no, like, I mean, they did it was hilarious. There was a video where they were going around to a bunch of people who were in Texas, and they were talking about when Trump first was talking about this wall, and a lot of them were saying, yeah, keep Mexicans out, keep the Mexicans out, and so on and so forth. Come to find out, majority of them actually had damn near 30 or even 40% of Mexican in their DNA.
Yeah, Texas is a fun one too, because that's full of a lot of those white supremacist hill rods. Dude, do you know where Texas originally came from? What was that part of before it was Texas? You might want to trace your ancestry.
Yeah, a lot of that's where the irony of it is that it's, and that's another thing I argue with my sister about, is that like our founding fathers, they say that we fled from a tyrannical government, a government that had all the control, that told us how we were supposed to think, what we were supposed to do, and yet we're leading right back up into it by giving the government more power.
It's our economic system plays a huge part of it. I've heard a lot of people advocating communism, but based on history, pure communism isn't necessarily successful.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that comic book trope, right? You live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yes.
In the Revolutionary War, we became heroes and we lived off of that. and then reinvigorated all the way through the 1950s, but at the expense of domestic enemies, anybody that was different. The communists or the civil rights movement with the blacks or Stonewall and the gays and the trans and whoever else we decided was different.
Yeah.
So at this point in time, we're becoming our own villain. I'm going to wrap this up soon, but I want to end on this one statement. Do you have anything you'd like to say before that, though?
Actually, when you mentioned about poetry, I do want to read one of mine to
Please
you.
do. Please do. And then I'll finish my statement. It'll be a great way to go out.
Okay. This one right here, this one's called Reality. It doesn't, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. Your video froze for a second on my end, but your audio is just fine.
Okay. I named this one Reality. Chaotic words flow in the mind. What do you want? What do you need? A timeless torment of thoughts. You're weak. I hate you. Flickering my burning soul. A candle held to the storm. I promise today I'll start. It wavers, lights dim. Never mind. Darkness surrounds me. Why? What the fuck is wrong with you? A cold blanket of pain. Your words are empty. You don't care about me. Numbing my glass heart. I'm sorry. A window faced with baseball bats. Fuck, you're a dumbass, a fucking idiot. It cracks, a fractured surface. What am I? Blood pours forth. Red drops cascade to sea. It's cold. Leave me alone. Echoes of emotion swirl down below. Why me? What did I do? Illusions shattered. My mind stops. False words rejected. I hate you. My reality accepted. I see you, old friend.
Very
That one,
nice.
yeah, that one I wrote. It was when I reached my breaking point. That's where it was one girl I was dating. It was only for like 2 months. I was so hell bent on, oh yeah, I love this woman. And it kind of dawned on me that, like I told you, my ex Kenya, she kept popping up in my head a lot of times. And after the woman like broke up with me, the way she broke up with me was just downright just fucked up. Just wrong. How someone can just sit there and just do a complete 180 on you. A lot of people do a lot of 180s on everybody, just suddenly just run away. And it was at that moment where I sat down staring at the mirror and I was just crying, just yelling out in the darkness, just what the fuck is wrong with me? You know, I broke down crying and I didn't know, like it just snapped. I didn't think about suicide, I didn't think about anything. All I thought about was just the pain that was deep inside of me. And then from that pain, it was almost as if it kind of just, you know what, fuck it. You know what I mean? I didn't care anymore. Like I cared, but at the same time, I cared. And that's where it was just, reality just hit me. It was just, we are our own worst enemies and our best friends.
Yep. You said, "What am I?" And a really common reoccurring phrase in a lot of my works is, "Who am I?"
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of my pastel artworks actually translate that into binary, and then I have a television tower still life I drew that
Mm-hmm.
has that same phrase written in a multitude of seemingly dead languages plus binary, which is a modern language, which
Mm-hmm.
you cannot directly translate English to binary. It's through another code. Computer nerdy shit. I only knew about that because I took computer tech and I hate coding with a passion. That's why I'm not Matt. Let me end on this. It's 2020, and 2020 seems to be the year of the fucking apocalypse for us. It's not one thing. It's pestilence. It's war. It's famine, right? Well, famine's coming up.
Yeah.
Christ.
I'm half
And-
expecting locusts, but we're getting rain and storms.
I have to liken it to 4 years ago. President Trump was elected. And I hate to take this political. I don't really hate to take a political. I'm just making a comment. I voted otherwise, but I immediately said when that happened, I'm like, oh, Christ, we fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
And I specifically chose my words in that we fucked up. We have a system here designed to elect democratically who the majority chose.
Yes.
Even if I didn't choose for him, I buy into the system by
Yeah.
participating in it. So we fucked up. And the only hope I could take from that situation where many of us that lean more liberal than conservative thought,
Mhm.
oh no, this is bad. Especially those that are black or gay or trans or any other minority.
Mhm.
The only hope I could think is maybe this is the trial by fire. Like maybe it has to get so fucked up and burn everything to the ground before we can rebuild it.
Yeah.
A really common phrase, and they even named an art project. It was a 10-foot cross made of TVs.
Mhm.
Destruction breeds creation.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes we cannot build something better until we completely destroy what was there before. And maybe it takes someone as fucking ridiculous as Donald Trump and the Americans that follow him to make us realize how bad it is.
Yes.
It has to get worse before it can get better.
Yeah.
It sucks so bad. And so
Yeah.
many of us are going to suffer because of it. But maybe we're the martyrs for a better future.
Yeah. You got to burn. A lot of times, farmers will burn their crops to grow new food.
And
to grow new plants.
it's the only hope I can find in a year of just shit.
Yeah.
So I would like to end for all my depressive talk on at least that hopeful note that this is only our trial by fire. This is
Yeah.
the necessary pain we have to go through to heal.
Yeah.
And with that, feel free to say one more thing you want to say if you were about to say something.
Oh no, I was gonna say that actually ends it on a good note. The one thing that I did learn about, like I said, how not to give a fuck, is accepting the fact that like not everything is just like sunshine and rainbows. You know what I mean? You have to. Why is it that people avoid the dark and sit there and say all the bright things? Like, you know, we have good years, we have bad years. 2020, hey, it's been a long time coming, honestly.
It is. I mean, 4 years ago was not the beginning of this mess. 4 years ago was a symptom of years of mess before that.
Yeah. So,
All right.
but I'll be around.
See you later, man. Stay in touch.
Later. Oh yeah, I will. Wait, how do you end this thing anyway?